Hello, this is my final reflection presentation for CUIN 7316. And in this presentation, I'll talk about my top 10 takeaway list from this course. So my number one takeaway is creating a course inside Canvas. This was a life-changing experience for me since I started from scratch. And creating an account and building a homepage, learning how to share an enrollment link with others so they can access my course, creating a banner, creating modules and buttons, embedding videos and images, creating content for my LMS and community hubs. These were all new skills for me, and they were big gains for me since I truly believe online learning is the best path for some learners and in some conditions, for some learning environments. And after taking this course, I see how important to pay attention to the design of the interface and the content for learners to produce the best quality teaching. Creating a hierarchy, using colors strategically, and being purposeful in the layout are all important for easy navigation and perception. And in terms of content, throughout the course, we have learned huge amount of information. And since we are asked to apply the principles that we have learned, the principles of online content creation constantly, I think I could internalize what we have learned. And I'll share some of these principles throughout this presentation. So my number two takeaway is blended learning models that we have learned. We have learned 7 different blended learning models actually. And one thing I'll never forget I learned about blended learning is there is technology at least one part of the instruction, but it can be adapted to any learning environments and coming up with creative ways of implementing it. And the Khan Academy course has been very beneficial to me since it provided both very good explanations and live examples. I mean, successful schools applying these models would be very unforgettable for me. I was so excited watching some schools engaging their students, and I could see student agency in those videos, and I would be so happy to be able to work in schools which are applying blended learning as an instructional model or apply it in my classes myself. Or I am planning to introduce these to schools which are not aware of the benefits they do and or which do not know how to apply it. And it is very good to learn that blended learning doesn't enforce one way, but it opens doors to different models of it. So educators can be creative, tailoring it to their own circumstances, facilities, and needs. And I have started following Catherine Tucker since I was so impressed the way she designed her instruction using blended learning. And her students speak to the power of her success in implementing blended learning, I think. And I also try to um, apply a group rotation model in my second module of my Canvas course, and I hope it will be successful. So my number 3 is allowing choice to show mastery to build student agency. I think student agency is very important. The way I can define student agency on top of my head is the learners taking their ownership in their learning, and in that way learning becomes more meaningful to them. I strongly believe that we can find ways to foster this if we can break the boundaries of our minds as teachers. And in this way, we can create instinctively motivated learners, hopefully. And this graphic is something I created to highlight the importance of recognizing diversity in our classes and allowing student agency. Since motivation and engagement have been my research interests, this article was very important for me. It was significant. And I read this article very carefully and still remember some points she highlighted. And I'd like to share some quotes which I find very striking. First of all, I think she gives clear definitions for motivation and engagement, as you can see in the quotes. And so from these definitions, my understanding is that motivation is not enough for academic growth, but the degree of attention, passion, optimism, which are all under the definition of engagement, um, are required. Both her literature review and findings of her own study reveal that blended learning has a positive impact on motivation, engagement, and student achievement. For example, I remember I saw it on the faces of the students in Carpe Diem schools that I watched in Khan Academy Blended Learning mini course. So my next takeaway is personalization of learning and 1T 3Ps principle. Um, Something that I have been trying to apply in my classes was personalization for years, but it was not very framed, and as a result, it was not practical for me and it was hard to come up with ideas. But throughout this course, I learned how it can be applied through technology and blended learning models. Something I'll never forget is the blog that we read in week 6 and 7. And there I remember 1T 3Ps principle. There is a practitioner-based feedback-informed definition of personalized learning there, and I would like to highlight that. So this is tailoring learning for each student's strengths, needs, and interests, including enabling student voice and choice in what, how, when, and where they learn, to provide flexibility and support to ensure mastery of the highest standards possible. So this definition clearly outlines the purpose of personalization as to open pathways for students and encourage student voice and choice in their education. And it highlights that it should be at their own pace. So the essential elements for personalization is student agency and 1T 3Ps. So another important thing I learned in this course is how to create horizontal lesson planning. And Kathleen Tucker explained in her video that in her video why horizontal lesson planning benefits learners and teachers as well instead of a vertical model. So I remember her words that vertical lesson plans may be kind of lockstep as a class, and students will have fewer opportunities to ask questions, to get support, to get the support they need. And vertical planning is a kind of seamless flow of instruction, whereas horizontal flowing, she showed that using a station rotation model, establishing so horizontal lesson planning will help teachers establish smaller learning communities in the classes. And so I try to apply this for my open educational resources assignment module 2 of my Canvas course. And I tried to make a horizontal planning. I mean, the flow of face-to-face session was horizontal, and I tried to meet all the requirements of OER assignment, um, keeping personalization and 1T 3Ps principle in mind. So the students were expected to rotate 4 stations there, and they were able to choose the station that they were going to start, and they would be able to find a chance to communicate, to collaborate, and to personalize their learning. So the importance of summative and formative assessments is another takeaway from this course. I always support advancing open mastery and learning, and it is though it is hard in today's educational systems, which are highly based on summative tests and standardization. And one thing I'll never forget from the articles we read about formative assessment was the article um, Moving Past Summative versus Formative Assessments article by Michael Horn. And the analogy Horn provided about an engineer's experience in Detroit, big trees, and the Toyota plants. And that analogy indicates the importance of demonstrating mastery of stage one before moving to phase two. So with this in mind, for my writing course in Canvas, I have created a formative assessment that would be taken between the identification and the production of topic sentences stages. And my purpose was to see which student is mastering the objective at what level, and to customize and personalize the instruction, the importance of which is emphasized in the flipped class video formative assessment also. So feeling alone is good nowhere, and in online learning environments as well. So let me show you this video shortly, and you'll see how it feels like being alone, and you may watch the video yourself. Throughout this course, we have seen many successful applications of building online communities, and I shared those examples in my week 10 discussion response. These are from my response. So the teaching presence example was the weekly videos in this course that Dr. Jones uh, has been providing every week, and we have been benefiting a lot. And the social presence example was this week's that week's Microsoft Teams task, and you may have Zoom also, or yeah. And cognitive presence example was from blended learning, and in that blended learning assignment, we shared materials, articles, presentations with my fellow court members, and a group or peer work could also something that I suggested, which could create a community, which could create an online community. So in my practice, I created a discussion for module 1 of my Canvas course, but after I read the materials for that week, I improved my module 1 discussion, following the tips for quality discussion posts, and I developed that post in module 1 to create a community in my course from the very beginning of the course, which is also said to be an important um, community building strategy. Actually, I was aiming to play some videos during my presentation, but while I'm recording my voice, I don't know, I cannot play these videos. So here is a video that you can watch. Here is the link. So web accessibility is my number 9 takeaway. And I believe making things accessible to everyone is crucial to meet the diverse needs of people. And the YouTube video web accessibility perspectives help me understand why it is so important and why we should consider accessibility requirements in mind while designing instruction. So from the video, I learned that it is especially important for people with various disabilities, including cognitive, neurological, and physical. And however, accessibility benefits people without limitations as well. So I learned this from that video. And just to get started, I considered some accessibility features to meet the requirements of web accessibility in my while I was preparing my course in Canvas. And in terms of interface of my course, I paid particular attention to providing sufficient contrast between foreground and background for my banner and in other pages. And I also, while designing the buttons, I also paid particular attention to that and trying to keep the student view of the course as simple as possible and providing clear and consistent navigation options were some issues that I considered in terms of accessibility while I was creating my course. Finally, my number 10 takeaway. This is National Standards for Quality Online Teaching and National Standards for Quality Online Courses. And I think these two documents are very important for all online resource developers and instructors. And it has these two documents have very clear guidelines and practical. They are very practical to use. And actually, they provide a usable set of benchmarks for quality online learning practices. And to be honest, I only had chance to dig deeper into quality online teaching document. Um, Especially, I focused on assessment and measurement benchmark and aligning the requirements of this standard. While I was creating assessment for my Canvas course, I tried to provide options for my students, and the students were to choose to write a topic sentence for a topic that they choose out of 5 topics that I provided. And I allowed multiple attempts and let them see their results, so they'll be informed about their progress. And I think these two documents are very handy for teachers and instructional designers to be guided about what to consider to improve the quality of their online teaching. So these can be also used to evaluate the effectiveness of online courses and online teaching and teachers. And there are a lot of online courses and teaching, and I believe these benchmarks have the potential to change how much people feel contented about online learning, because the quality of online courses and online teaching is very crucial and it plays a very important role um, for experiences of learners. So these are the things that I can count on in my top 10 list. So there are, of course, many other things that I have learned in this course, throughout this course, because this course really benefited me a lot. So thank you, Dr. Jones, for designing such a great course.